When I experience something unsettling, one of the first things I do is fast and pray. The fasting is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., water only. And after that, it's raw fruits and vegetables, no dressing, no anything added. Raw fruits and vegetables. That's my go-to. Anytime I experience like a bad dream or just something that's upsetting or unsettling, I will fast immediately. So I had a situation and someone said something and it really didn't bother me. I could just see what the issue was. But I said, I want to go to the Bible and I want to see, who does this remind me of? And what I thought of was the book of Esther and Haman. Haman was this evil man who wanted to annihilate the Jews. And so I started reading and it was just like so good. There are many different nuggets. It was so good that I contacted a friend of mine and I said, hey, would you be open to reading the book of Esther with me? And we come up and with our thoughts about it and what's going on, and we can discuss it. And so she agreed, and so we're going to do that. And so I told her that I'd already read it all the way through, and I wanted to go back, and I wanted to glean some more, and I want to read it several more times. But anyway, back to the situation and the individual that I'm dealing with. I started looking at the book of Esther and reading, and I could see how this person deals with the spirit of pride. In chapter 3, it says, after these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So, promotion, people can get the big head with promotion, and they can think that there's certain things they don't have to do anymore. They can think that, they're just above people. So it says here, set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So you could just see a person getting puffed up. I've been puffed up before. Have you been puffed up before? So I can see it in this text. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And so here you've got the people, sometimes people meddle in things, so they see that Mordecai is not bowing. And so what do? They go and tell Haman, who, remember, has already been promoted and elevated by the king. So he's looking and it's like, what? Somebody is not going to bow to me? So, so that's dealing with pride. So he's puffed up with this pride, and he wants to, because Mordecai is a Jew, he just says, I just want to get rid of all the Jews. And so it says, chapter 3, verse 5 in the book of Esther, and when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. He was hot. He was angry. Verse 6, and he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. He just didn't want to do away with Mordecai. For they had showed him the people of Mordecai, wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of the king of Ahasuerus, they cast Purim, that is, the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month, and the 12th month, that is, a month, Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. See here, he has the king's attention because he's been promoted, and so he can whisper in the king's ear. You know how people will say things that are not in the most favorable light, And so there Haman is in the king's ear. There's a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces. So he's talking about the Jews there. Neither keep they the king's laws. So they're not keeping the king's laws. And so I want to go back, which I didn't read this part, but around the first chapter of Esther, there was this celebration, 7 days of this celebration that this king was doing. And so he was drinking, and that's when he had asked his wife Vashti to come down, and she wouldn't do it. And so it embarrassed the king because he's in high spirits. He's been drinking and, having fun, and embarrassed the king. And so then the people around the king were saying, hey, basically, are you going to let her get away with that? Because if you do, then all the people are going to want to do that, and men are going to have problems with their wives. So that has already taken place in chapter 1. And so now in chapter 3, here's Haman talking to the king, and then talking about the king's law. Neither keep they the king's law. So he's already feeling some type of way, because here's Vashti. She didn't keep the king's law. And so he had to, basically put her out of the, let her not come back to him before, and then took her property. So Haman, is aware of this. And so he says, here's, somebody else not keeping the king's law. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, who was the Jews' enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Now, how can it be good for the Jews? Here he has just been promoted even more to do what Haman wants to do. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants and the governors that were over every province. And I'm reading from the King James Version. And the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, in the name of the king Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. So and the king, and verse 15, and the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. So I'm not going to continue on with it, but I wanted to make the point when that Haman was not a nice person, and he certainly wasn't a good person to the Jews. And so when someone said something about me, fasting and praying, and then who does this remind me of? This situation, what does this remind me of? And it reminded me of the book of Esther and the character Haman, who was evil, who was prideful, who was elevated and had a position, and it just went to his head. And so the story goes on where Haman, dies, is killed actually, because of his evil nature in trying to destroy someone else. He ended up destroying himself. And so when I read a story like this and I have a situation, I know what the outcome is going to be. I know what the outcome is going to be. What was meant for evil will turn out for my good. So I just wanted to share that with you. So if you find yourself criticized or ridiculed in some way or whatever, just pray and ask God, what does this story remind you of in the Bible? And then you go to that story and you really dive deep, and you will be able to get some answers as to how to approach a situation, and you will come out ahead. Fasting and prayer is also the key to victory. Hope this helps.